Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and we're doing the winner of a seasonal championship. This is called Golden Age, and yeah, we're in 1960s classic American muscle cars. So yeah, it should be real fun. Lots of big power, rear wheel drive, V8 engines and the like, and yeah, I'm a real big fan of classic muscle cars. So yeah, looking forward to driving them, and we're getting there in the Porsche 550A Spider, which is the 20-point reward for the season at the moment. Yeah, while we're doing these championships, if you like this car, I do really rather like this car. It's a fantastic little sports car. So yeah, while we're doing the championships, if you like this kind of car, obviously it's newly added to the game. Not new to the series, obviously, because we've had this in plenty of Forza games prior, but yeah, it is new to this game, and yeah, proper little treat. Especially given how it's barely got 100 horsepower, and yeah, it doesn't weigh very much, and the result is pretty quick. Right, let's see where we're going to be racing and what we're going to be racing in. So yeah, they're in C-Class, these American muscle cars, so not the absolute fastest from this period, but still pretty damn quick given their age. So yeah, we've got the likes of the Chevrolet Camaro SS Coupe. We've got the Chevrolet Nova SS 396, the Dodge Charger RT, the Ford Mustang Boss 302, and the Plymouth Barracuda Formula S, which was only added in a few weeks ago into the game via the Festival Playlist. So, decent variety. I'm not sure if we've got any that we haven't missed there. Nope. Yeah, the only one that's not there is a Barracuda, and that's because you can't buy it from the auto show. So, yeah, I'm going to go for the Ford first. It's the best handling car here, as you can see. Not by a huge margin over the Barracuda, and it is actually slightly slower because it's only got 290 compared to the 300 horsepower and the 400 pound-feet of torque. But as you can see, it is lighter. It is comfortably the lightest car here. So yeah, let's see what this car can do. This is easily one of my favourites from the 60s. Absolutely adore the way it looks, and yeah, it's pretty good in terms of driving ability as well, especially in comparison to other cars from the period. And it's not actually all that heavy, like I said, 3,250 pounds isn't that heavy at all for an American car from this period. Obviously, it doesn't have the biggest amount of power or torque, but still more powerful than the standard Mustang from 64, 65, so yeah. Sounds pretty good as well, and it's high revving compared to other muscle cars as well, at almost 6,000 RPM. Usually some top out about 5.5, some even less than that. So yeah, this is far more of a you know, track-orientated version of a muscle car, quite frankly. Should be a bit spoiler. It's splitter at the front. Not seen that corner then, but yeah, great car. This. Wish we could review vehicles like this, but unfortunately not every car is reviewable in terms of its engine, which is something I try and make sure is the case for every car that we see on this game that I review. Obviously some aren't possible, like Porsche with their modern cars try to hide their engines for whatever reason, and obviously electric cars, that's impossible to actually look at their motors because obviously they don't have actual engines, and their batteries and electric motors are crammed way down into the lower ends of the cars to improve handling. Yeah, love this car. Obviously it's not going to handle as well as a modern muscle car, but as far as cars from the time, well, it's definitely one of the better ones. Even if it's not quite as quick. One car that we've not had for a while in terms of American muscle cars is the Camaro Z28, which again is a lower powered version of a more powerful version of the Camaro, but again, it's one I'd really rather enjoy. I like the fact it's not got that much power because it means you have to make the most of what handling it has. That's not actually a bad handling car from what I can remember in old Forza games. Been quite some years since we've had that car, and there are obviously American muscle cars that we've not had since Forza Motorsport 4. And we brought out a American muscle car pack that game, which yeah, we're still missing the likes of the classic Shelby GT500, as well as the GT500 CJ. It's nice and Cobra Jet, which I absolutely adore that car. That's absolutely amazing. Easily one of my favourite cars on that game. So yeah, still think there's some gaps in this kind of class of vehicle, but overall on this game in particular it's pretty strong. And just to bring the Barracuda back, for instance, is always a plus as far as I'm concerned, which we'll look at in another race in this championship. And obviously we got back some American cars that aren't muscle cars that we've never had before, like the Oldsmobile Tornado. Speaking of which, I really would like the 60s Lincoln Continental to make a return. Love that car in Forza Motorsport 4. And then not even, you know, powerful cars from America that we've not had for a while. Ford Pinto, for instance. I'd love that to have that back. No, it's not particularly good, but it does make for some interesting racing, especially in its stock form. Obviously this isn't speaking of cars that we've never had in a Forza game before from America from the 60s or 70s, so still a wide variety of vehicles that we've yet to actually get our hands on. I do not have a clue what was going on there on my driving point there, but yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing the car list for the next Forza Motorsport game. I really do hope it's at least 1,000 and there are at least a big variety of cars and a huge chunk of the cars that we've never had before in a Forza game, and they are viewable in Forza Vista in either fully formed or mostly in terms of, you know, the engine at least. So yeah, but that's still a ways off yet, unfortunately. But what isn't a ways off is us winning, and yeah, it did take a while to catch up there, but obviously we were a little bit down on power. The Camaro that was in second place, I think it's come in second. No, the Charger came in second, but that has, you know, 135 extra horsepower over us, and the Camaro has near 85 extra horsepower. So yeah, we were way down on power, but even the Barracuda managed to keep up with us, which has a little bit more in the way of power, but obviously way more in the way of weight. So regardless though, 20 points in the bag, so let's get on to the second race. Right, so we're on a point-to-point race for this one, so I think we need a little bit more in the way of power, even if we're not going to technically have more in the way of speed. And yeah, the Charger seems to be the worst handling car here, braking especially. Always been a fan of the Camaro. It's got a fair decent amount of power and torque. The Nova has the same amount because obviously it's a Chevrolet and pretty much always shared engines, and yeah, this Nova is actually less in terms of weight, but the Camaro is technically better in terms of handling. We'll go with the Camaro. Yeah, 375 horsepower, 415 pounds-feet of torque, which is a fair bit amount of torque and power, more than the Mustang in the previous race, that's for sure. And once again, we're in an orange car, which I've only just realised. Yeah. Oh no, it's the New Year's, or the celebration one, or whatever. Whichever livery that they gave us at some point for this car. I never remember. Probably the New Year one. Still, doesn't change how powerful the car is, and yeah, it's a pretty meaty car. Not as high revving as the Mustang was. Lacking for power. But like pretty much all cars from this period from America, quite soft suspension, a lot of body roll, and not particularly good brakes. As you can see, the top speed isn't that great in this either. It does get there quite quickly. Not sure if the Nova is any better. All depends on the gearing, really. Like so many cars from this period in America, 4 gears is the maximum. Now even some have even less than that. Buick GSX, for instance, which we're not going to get in this series because obviously that's from 1970, has only 3 gears, despite having quite a lot of power in that car. Slipping and sliding everywhere. Damp road surface does not help a really powerful rear-wheel drive car. Bit of understeer there as well, unfortunately. To get past our fellow Camaro here. We nabbed the inside line there. This isn't as good in terms of handling as the Mustang, but it is probably a bit more fun in the fact that it's more playful and want you to slide around a bit more. Not quicker by any means, but still gives us the first place again. So yeah, pretty pleased from the Camaro there. You probably have already guessed what I'm going to get in the next race, but regardless, yeah, the Camaro gives us the win, and yeah, that means we're now 8 points ahead of second place, and yeah, pretty much got it in the bag, but we could easily lose the next race and lose it badly, so that could easily drop us down the leaderboard. But let's get to the third race and see what happens. Right, so we're going to get in the Barracuda for this third and final race. It's not the best handling car here, because obviously the Mustang is slightly better. Braking is obviously not as good either, but acceleration is better. Top speed isn't quite as good, but we're on a circuit race with not particularly long straight on it, so we should be alright in that regard. But yeah, we do have more power in terms of torque and horsepower than the Mustang, but obviously we do weigh 220 pounds more, and we're slightly more weighty at the front. So yeah, it's not the best muscle car from the era, but I still love it, and yeah, quite like the Mustang in that regard is the fact that it's not got the most powerful engine out there. It's not the quickest vehicle, it's not the best handling one, but it looks great, and yeah, it's really fun to drive. And it's a little bit of left of field in terms of other muscle cars from the period. You say muscle car from the 60s, you think Mustang, Charger, Camaro. You're less likely to come across someone that's going to immediately think of Barracuda for the first time that they mention a muscle car. So yeah, always liked it in that regard. And as you can see, it's even less revvy at the top end than the Camaro, only 5,500 RPM. So yeah, even lazier V8 engine somehow. It does mean it has its torque quite a lot, so it's able to shift quite well. Which will help in this tight circuit. These cars really aren't meant for dueling with, but as you can see, this car's wobbling all over the place. But putting cars that aren't used to certain situations in those situations is rarely not fun, so it doesn't really matter if this car's suitable for this kind of circuit, it just makes the racing all the more better. Who's up in first place? tomorrow again. Oh dear. Fair bit of understeer there. More than able to shift out of that corner though, despite messing it up. And catching up. Oh no, it's a Mustang actually. I think it's the original. It's been upgraded to get to C-Class. Very light car that. People don't realise how light the original Mustang actually was. Not all that powerful. But obviously it's been upgraded so it might well have even more power than we do. It's ridiculous how quickly though the Mustang grew in weight in such a short space of time. And you have that original there which I think was less than £2,700, and then by the time you got to the Mach 1 in the early 70s you're talking closer to £3,800, so it's a ridiculous, you know, growth in weight. But the power and the size of the engine did grow up to match it, so you had about 100 horsepower extra. A hell of a lot more in the way of torque as well. Inside, hold it. He's gaining back up upon us. Shut the door on him though. Bye bye. And there we go, the Barracuda giving us the win, and yeah, easily my favourite car out of the three that I've chosen today to drive. No, it's not the best. The Mustang is definitely the better handling car, and on a track would definitely beat this Barracuda, but we still got the win regardless, giving us 20 points, 60 points overall, beating the Mustang in second, and the Ford Mustang from 69 in third, with the Charger in fifth. And someone actually was racing a Tornado there. Not what I'd call a muscle car, but still V8 powered, even if it is front wheel drive. But yeah, there we go. Obviously that gives us the more important 5 points towards the season overall, and the current series of the festival playlist overall as well. Where we're still aiming to get the BMW M4, which despite being ugly I do still want in this game, and yeah, we're pretty much more than halfway there now, so yeah, we should have that by next week. But regardless, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the seasonal championship, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.